Welcome, I'm Kirsten Allison. Today's class is all about our juicy hips. You will need a blanket to protect your knees. You can set it about 3/4 of the way down your mat. I'm just going to begin in child's pose. Their knees on the outsides of the mat. Big toes are touching and just folding forward, allowing your thumbs to touch and your pointer fingers to touch. Your forehead to drop to the ground. Closing your eyes, slowing the breath. We are going to be returning to this child's pose over and over again today. Perhaps allowing your heart to drop towards the earth. Feeling that length in your spine as you're folding forward here in this child's pose. Inhale, coming up onto all fours. And a tabletop. Stacking your hips over your knees, your shoulders over your wrists. Finding that length, engaging your navel in towards your spine. And now walking your left knee kind of in towards the midpoint of your body. And lifting your right knee up parallel to the ground, kind of as if you're trying to go over a hurdle, or if you were a dog, maybe peeing with their leg up. Just remembering to keep this length and this openness within your shoulders, this evenness. And beginning to bring your knee in towards your armpit and then swooping it down, touching your other knee, and then all the way back up in these really large, slow hip circles. If you have really tight hips, you might even notice a slight pinching in one area, and that's totally okay. Just observe it. Continuing with these large, round hip circles. And reversing it. Now going towards your hips and then up into the air and then your knee. Final one. And then returning your knee up parallel to the ground again, but this time stopping about halfway and then all the way down. And whoop, all the way up, halfway, all the way down. A few more times, all the way up, halfway, all the way down, all the way up, halfway, all the way down. Inhale, all the way up, halfway, all the way down, and finally dropping back into your child's pose. Knees are wide, big toes touching, thumb and pointer finger touching. Just observing if you feel any difference from one hip in to the other. You're doing both strengthening and releasing tension. Your next inhale, coming back to tabletop. This time, taking your right knee about your midline, left leg coming up for that fire hydrant or hurdle posture, swooping it in towards your left armpit, down towards your knee, and all the way around for these big, beautiful, round, spiraling hips. Very slow, moving with your breath. A few more times before we reverse. And reversing. Taking your left knee up for that hurdle, and then dropping it halfway, all the way. Inhale. Exhale, halfway, all the way. Inhale. Halfway, all the way. Inhale. Halfway, all the way. Inhale. Halfway, all the way. Final one. Inhale. Halfway, all the way, and dropping back to your beautiful child's pose. Checking in again with your hips, how they both feel now that they've both experienced this movement. Maybe you notice one was a little bit more challenging than the other, and that's okay. Maybe you notice that your heart is able to drop a little closer to the earth in child's pose. Your next inhale, coming back up to a tabletop. And I'm just going to move my blanket so that you can see me a little bit better, but you can stay exactly where you are. From this tabletop, we're going to take our left foot out, just directly out, allowing the bottoms of your foot to completely touch the ground, noticing this nice deep opening on the inside of our left thigh. Your butt is sticking out, kind of sitting in this similar tabletop. Maybe beginning to shift and allow our hips to go around and around. Just opening up the inner left thigh and reversing. Maybe coming up. Again, going around and around with our hips. And reversing. And coming back onto our hands. Breathing into the inner left thigh one last time. And exhaling, bring your left knee back in. Inhale, and planting our right foot out this time. Immediately dropping into these hip circles and this tabletop posture. Just finding as round of a movement as you can and switching. And coming to stack your shoulders over your hips, planting your hands on your hips, and again going around and around. And reversing. Dropping back to tabletop. Bring your knee back in and shifting back into a child's pose. Again, observing with your hips to see if they feel any different than they did before. Observing if you allow your chest to drop more to the earth than it was before. Now gently move the blanket off to the side. Planting both hands on the ground, stepping your big toes out to the widest part of your mat and allowing the other remainder 4 toes to hit the hardwood or carpet, whatever you're on. And begin to, as you're bending into your knees, lifting your hips up towards the sky for this wide-legged downward facing dog. Keeping that deep bend into, like almost as if you're reaching your knees towards your armpits, pushing into all 10 fingers, finding that length in your spine. And beginning to cycle out, if you'd like, one heel towards the ground and then the other. Taking some deep breaths, opening up your spine, your side body, the front of your body. Just allowing this down dog to bring space into every corner of your body. With your next inhale, you're going to be pulling your right knee in towards your chest, dropping your shin to the ground for a pigeon. And stay up on your fingertips. So you don't want this pigeon to be like the deepest version of your pigeon ever. You really want it to be very light because we're going to be here for a while. So if this version of pigeon isn't very comfortable for you, you can always start with a figure 4, laying down on your back. You can start here, maybe grabbing a hold behind your left knee. If you'd like to start in a traditional pigeon pose, like I said, you don't want it to really be the most extreme version of it. So pull your foot in towards your groin a little bit more. Point your toe. You don't want your leg to be parallel to the mat. This is a therapeutic pigeon pose. When you feel comfortable here, you can begin to come onto your forearms, eventually laying all the way down. It's really up to you what you'd like to do. But remember, we'll be here for a few minutes, so Just really tune into your body and give it what it needs. If at any moment it starts to be too intense, just back off a little. Pull your ankle in towards your groin a little bit more. Just surrender into this release of the fascia surrounding our hips. Again, if you notice something getting a little too intense, you can always back off. Just listen to your body. Now moving into version 2 of this pigeon / figure 4, you can continue to stay in pigeon and maybe just walk your hands over to the right or over to the left, whatever feels good for you. You can move into a figure 4 posture, taking your left foot crossing over your right ankle crossing over your left knee, pulling in towards you. You can drop it to the side, drop your left foot or your right foot down onto the earth. Whatever is comfortable for you, whatever, it doesn't need to be more advanced from what you did before. So just pick a posture, and again, we'll be here for a few minutes. If you're in this figure 4, making sure that you're flexing your toes in towards your shins, keeping a level of engagement. And gently moving into the last version of this side. So you can stay here. You can twist your hip so that your right foot is coming down onto the earth. You can, from here, even straighten out your right leg and grab a hold. Whatever you want to do, just tune into your body. It doesn't have to be more advanced than the last posture. If you notice that there's an area of tightness in your right hip, maybe massage it a little. It can be very extreme after long periods of stretching this area. If at any moment it starts to get extreme, just back off. Find something that still feels good, but is doable. And we're going to be moving on to the other side now. So whatever you want to do on this side, it doesn't have to resemble what you did on the other side. Again, you can start in pigeon, figure 4. Maybe you're never in pigeon in any version, and that's okay as well. Just find where you want to go and move into it. Begin to settle in. Beginning to move into version 2, whatever you're doing on your left leg. Pigeon, figure 4, whatever you want to do. Moving into version 3, whatever that looks like for you. And releasing that and pulling your knees in towards your chest for Apanasana. Hugging them in, allowing that space in your hips to just finally release. Find some gratitude in your heart for yourself, for showing up to your practice today. When you're ready, releasing down into Shavasana. Melting into the earth, allowing all of these beautiful movements to settle into our body. I invite you to stay here for 3 to 5 minutes, if not longer. It's an honor that you join me in my practice and allow me to be a part of yours. Namaste.